Imagine waking up before dawn on a dairy farm. Your day isn't about innovation or strategy, it's about moving cows. Physical fences need maintenance, and herds need constant supervision. Labor is expensive, and time is bleeding away on tasks that have not fundamentally changed in 100 years. This is the world Craig Piggott grew up in. He saw it not as a romantic country ideal, but as a series of inefficiencies. Every boundary adjustment meant hours of work. Every herd movement required a physical presence. The friction was everywhere, and nobody was solving it, because most tech entrepreneurs have never stepped foot on a working farm. But Piggott saw something different. He saw a problem so fundamental, so universal across agriculture, that solving it could reshape an entire industry. The question was not how to make farming more romantic. It was how to eliminate the drudgery. And that is the kind of question that builds billion-dollar companies. Here is where the story gets interesting. Craig Piggott does not fit the Silicon Valley founder archetype. He did not drop out of a prestigious university or start a company in a garage. Instead, he did something much rarer. He left a prestigious engineering job to go back home. After studying mechanical engineering at the University of Auckland and graduating with first-class honors, he joined Rocket Lab. Think about that for a second. Rocket Lab builds actual rockets. It is a world of high-performance engineering and cutting-edge technology, where you solve problems at the edge of what is physically possible. But here is the twist. The biggest problem he could solve was not in space, it was in the fields he grew up in. At 21 years old, he founded Halter. He founded it because he understood, viscerally, the problem he was solving. He had lived it. That is the difference between a founder who reads about agriculture and one who has actually mucked out a barn. Now we get to the magic. Halter is not just a GPS tracker, and it is not just a fancy fence. It is an AI system that collects, processes, and learns from a staggering amount of real-time data. Each collar generates 6,000 data points per minute, 6,000 per minute per cow. Across 1,300 farms managing 650,000 cattle, that is a mind-bending volume of information flowing into Halter's cloud platform every single second. The system uses audio cues and gentle vibrations to guide cattle. There is no shock and no pain, just behavioral guidance. But here is the clever part. While the collars are guiding the herd, they are simultaneously collecting data about movement, location, grazing patterns, and even subtle changes in behavior that might indicate illness. The Cowgorithm, and yes, that is the actual trademark name, is the proprietary AI that processes all this information in real time. It does not just track where cows are. It predicts disease before symptoms appear, it detects breeding cycles, and it optimizes grazing patterns. It is turning cattle farming from an art into a science. This is why Halter insists it is not an agtech company. It is a data company that happens to work with cattle. And that distinction matters enormously when you are talking to investors. Fast forward to March 2026. Halter just raised $220 million at a $2 billion valuation. Peter Thiel's Founders Fund led the round. Let that sink in for a moment. One of the most legendary and, frankly, most contrarian venture capitalists on the planet just bet $220 million on AI-powered cow collars. This is not venture capital chasing hype. This is institutional validation of a thesis that started on a New Zealand dairy farm. The numbers tell the story. Halter went from managing a handful of herds to overseeing nearly 650,000 cattle across 1,300 farms in New Zealand, Australia, and the United States. In the U.S. alone, they are working with over 150 ranchers across 18 states. And the feedback from these ranchers is not just positive, it is transformative. One Montana rancher said, "We are saving hundreds of hours now by not having to put up polywire." It is honestly a life-changing experience for us. These are not tech evangelists. These are hardened, practical ranchers who measure success in dollars and efficiency. and they are saying Halter changed their operations. It is also worth noting that Halter doubled its valuation from $1 billion to $2 billion in less than a year. That is not a coincidence. That is a company hitting its stride. Here is what is fascinating about Halter's future. They are not done innovating. The virtual fence was the entry point, but it is not the destination. Imagine a world where every cow on every farm is continuously monitored, not just for location, but for health, nutrition, reproductive status, and environmental impact. Imagine AI systems that predict disease outbreaks before they happen, optimize grazing to regenerate soil, and help farmers make data-driven decisions that increase profitability while improving sustainability. That is not science fiction. That is Halter's roadmap. The company positions itself as a data platform. The collar is the sensor, and the app is the interface. But the real value, the defensible, scalable value, is in the AI that processes all that data and turns it into actionable insight. This is the quiet revolution happening in agriculture. While everyone is talking about lab-grown meat and vertical farms, a New Zealand farmer's kid is reshaping how we actually manage the cattle we have. Not through disruption, but through optimization. Not through replacement, but through augmentation. Craig Piggott's thesis that technology can eliminate friction in farming has been proven at scale, and we are only at the beginning. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, hit like and subscribe to Business Undercurrent. We dig into the undercurrents of business and innovation that most people miss. And trust me, there are a lot more stories like this one.